We're good.
Are we ready? Okay. I'd like to call to order the Village of Ashwaubenon Park and Rec Board meeting for Tuesday, October 16th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Mark Castonia.
Here.
Justin Miner.
Here.
Adine Hess.
Here.
Deborah Lundberg. Here. Chris Zerbil.
Here.
And Mark Williams is excused.
Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay. Number 4, action on the agenda.
Need a motion?
Motion? Need a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the action on the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Comments from the public? There's nobody here. We'll move on. Written communications? Nothing today. Okay, action on consent agenda, Park and Rec Board regular meetings from September 18th, 2018, and September expenditures.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, action items. Discussion on 8A, discussion on Brown County Fairground trail update. Rex?
Yep, okay, so this is a little bit more of an abbreviated agenda item than we had planned on giving tonight. Reason being, we don't have, the official plan is still in a state of flux, so Brown County is reticent to officially release that yet. But what I can tell you is I've been working with Brown County on a committee, as well as the city of De Pere and the Brown County Fairground Association, on sitting in on a master plan, which is being developed by Rettler Corporation for the Brown County Fairgrounds. And they're looking at how do they rejuvenate the fairgrounds into more of a multi-use facility that people are excited about, that can be used not only for the fair, but other major events that can come in, specifically outdoor open space. So they're looking at different things along those lines. They've got it down to almost a final plan, but they still have a few more meetings to go before that's officially released. And part of that plan includes some new buildings in different phases, of course. Several buildings, kind of like a racetrack without the bleachers. And of course, we're still talking about the potential of a trail along the riverfront, which would eventually hook up to the Ashwaubenon River Trail. I mean, our thoughts long-term on the Ashwaubenon River Trail, as you remember, which ends right now at the Bay Harbor condominiums, is to push that behind the old Schneider National Truck Yard, potentially even putting a bridge across Ashwaubenon Creek, looping that trail around Ashwaubenon Park to make a nice circuitous loop. Another phase to that is to extend that trail along the waterfront behind New Water, going into the fairground areas and hooking up to the boat launch, the Perkoski boat launch, which is in De Pere, which is, the fairgrounds is partly Brown County, part city of De Pere. So that is still there. They have a decent number of official camping sites that are there as well. So they're looking at a lot of open space, new buildings, camping sites, trails, potentially a small playground area, a kayak rental facility, which would happen along or adjacent to the boat launch area. So a couple of really neat things. And like I said, I was going to bring more of that to you, but there's still more work to be done on the plan. So I just wanted to give you a brief update of where we are with that in case you start to hear of something like that coming down the pike.
Rex, do you know if As far as the pass-through between Ashwaubenon and the fairgrounds, there was some thought a while back that might be vehicular. Are we looking at, have they looked at maybe watering that down and just being a pedestrian passway?
Our desire is to specifically have it along the riverfront anyway as pedestrian. They're looking at a mid-park path, which would go, there's a small neighborhood between Ashwaubenon Park and the fairgrounds. And there's one street that goes down in there. And they're looking at potentially putting a pathway in to connect to that street as like an emergency exit out of the park in case the Broadway entrances into the fairground, in case something maybe would happen along the railroad tracks or something where you had to have people exit in a different direction type of a thing. So they're looking at that, and that's all part of the plan and what's being discussed. But in terms of Ashwaubenon, as far as I'm aware of, we're still just interested in the pedestrian pathway portion of it along the waterfront. If I mean, it's not something that we need. It just would be a great amenity for both the De Pere and Ashwaubenon communities, as well as anyone who is visiting who wants to go up and down that pathway. So, you know, that's what our ideas are on it. I mean, it's nothing that we're pushing for, except for the fact that, boy, wouldn't this be great to be able to extend it into the fairgrounds and have that amenity in our village where we have the connection between all those different types of facilities. Ice center, fairground, boat launch, Ashwaubenon Park, or marina, and potentially you can even go north with it, you know, down the line, you know, in front of the Railroad Museum. So, long term.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other questions? Nope. All right, we'll move on to 8B, discussion and possible action on the Ashwaubenon Park entryway signage.
Got a couple pictures here for you. Couple are some new signs, but really what you need to take a look at is on packet page 13. Page 13 is listed down on the bottom of what pages you are on. There's two signs showing the entryway to Ashwaubenon Park. One of them you can see as you're driving north-south on Broadway. It's the typical type of park sign that we have in front of all of our parks within the village. Specifically just says Ashwaubenon Park. The larger sign, which has been there vintage 1974, is the above bridge sign, where it says Ashwaubenon Memorial River Park. And like I said, that's right at the entryway of the bridge. What's happening is we're starting to see some decay on that cross beam going across the top, where we're going to need to take it down. On top of that, you can see where the sign has been hit by, even though it's still fairly high, it has been hit by different vehicles. You can see a big chunk of it right after the word memorial has been taken out all the way underneath the river and park. And it's actually kind of bent in an awkward position. So bottom line is we're going to be losing that sign within probably the next year. We're not really sure how to replace it. Ashwaubenon is really our, you know, if not the main park within our park system, certainly one of the top parks in our park system, other than Klipstein and the sports complex. I would probably argue Ashwaubenon just due to the number of uses and visitors that go there. We have over 100,000 visitors per season between soccer, baseball, the lake, all the rentals, all the special events we have there. It's by far our busiest park. As such, we're looking at, okay, it probably would be appropriate to have something a little bit different than the current sign that's there, which is what we have at our smallest neighborhood parks. We need something to, people driving along Broadway, I've had comments before where people have said we drove right by, we didn't even know it was there. Well, talking with administration, you know, it was mentioned, why don't we do something similar to like what Pamprin Park has? And on page 12 are some general examples of different types of signs, similar in look in terms of what Pamprin Park has. Kind of that National Park Service type look, without getting too fancy, which I certainly think is appropriate for Ashwaubenon. But of course, these types of signs are a lot, are going to be more expensive than the other type of sign that we have that's in there. So before we go any further, I mean, I've been tasked to start the process of doing some fact-finding, getting some ideas out there, getting the okay on those ideas, and then getting pricing on those ideas once the style of sign has been decided. So looking at staff, talking with staff, I should say, a lot of people liked these types of signs that are on page 12. I think the favorite typically was the one, and again, this would say Ashwaubenon Park, but something similar to the look of the Ken Carrill Ranch type of sign. It has that rustic, National Park Service look, but it stands out when you're driving by. And the other ones are certainly nice looking as well. But I wanted to touch base with you. Number one, let you know that the current signage is short in terms of it's not going to be there very much longer. And then I wanted to get your thoughts on what do you guys think of the signs on page 12 before. I need to know what your thoughts are to see if I need to go in another direction in terms of look or style, or what do you think?
How close could you get the sign to the sidewalk there?
What's that, Mark?
How close could you get the sign to the sidewalk?
We can get it fairly close. I don't think I'd want to put it in the right of way, just because you don't know what kind of utilities are going to through there. So if you take a look on page 13 on the upper picture where the Ashwaubenon Park sign is, the one along Broadway, my recommendation would literally be in the same spot. It would just take up more room because it would be a longer length sign. There you go. Thank you. Are you doing that, Sue?
I'm trying.
Nice job.
It's too soon to tell.
So your thought then is that the Ashwaubenon Memorial River Park overhead sign would completely go away?
It needs to go away,
But not replaced? We'd replace it off to the side?
yeah,
with
I like the overhead sign, don't get me wrong, I really do, I think it's a sharp looking sign. And if you told me we want another overhead sign, I'd be like, okay, I'll just get the cost and make it taller, so it doesn't get hit by the vehicles again, and that would be fine too. But at this point, we're looking more at the monument sign, but I'll go with whatever direction, I'm instructed to go in.
So on
The
the
overhead one needs to come down, and I'll be honest with you, regardless of what happens, it's not going to be cheap, because I believe there's electrical lines that go across that top beam, and part of the posts are integral to some of the other support and electrical stuff. You can't see it on here, but there's going to be things that need to be juggled when this sign comes down. Potentially electrical lines rerun underneath the bridge and things like that, irregardless of what kind of new sign we put back in.
Would you want the new sign to be electrified?
I think it would be nice. Again, it's all going to depend on cost. The good thing is, if you take a look again at this picture, immediately on the other side of the roadway, the entry roadway, to the north, there's an electrical box. So there's already power there. And so basically, the line would just need to be run from that breaker box that's already at the entryway to the park, and probably underneath the roadways or underneath the bridge somehow to this type of sign. And then in terms of lighting it, there's a couple ways you can do it. If you take a look on page 12, the bottom left-hand picture where it says Stowe Mountain Lodge, you can see a couple of illumination lights on that. You could have illumination lights from the bottom, but then if you put them on the bottom, then you're always dealing with the snow. So, or we could just not light it up, that's fine too. Again, I have a feeling that will all depend on what the sign costs come in at. I talked with a couple of sign companies regarding these, and they said they're all beautiful signs, and a lot of them said we can do it, but we need a design. And so to even begin something like this, a sign needs to be designed, and not, like when you're talking Jones Sign and some of these other places, that's not the type of sign they design. You need like a specialty person, like the one over at Pamperin Park, that was actually designed by a architectural firm down in Madison that designed park signs. The state did that when they put Highway 29 through. They actually, because they had to move the entryway into Pamperin Park or shift it a little bit, and so the state actually paid for that the Brown County sign to be put in. So they were very fortunate on that. One of the sign places recommended a gal up in Door County who does these type of signs, who designs them, and then they said, once you have a design, you can show it to us, and then we can kind of farm it out to our, people that we work with and get quotes. Okay, what would the brickwork cost? What would the electrical cost? What would, the framing cost? What would the concrete base cost on it? That type of a thing.
Would you rather have an internal lighted sign as opposed to one that just has lights shining on it?
I don't think so. Because I just, that type of sign, which is like at or a LED sign or wherever, like we have at the community center, I don't think that, quite honest, to be honest, to me, it doesn't fit at Ashwaubenon. Ashwaubenon, to me, it's like one of our flagship parks. It's a beautiful park that while it's very busy, it also has some beautiful scenery and, views of the Fox River and walking trails, and soon to be even more walking trails. And to me, again, my opinion and recommendation is to go with something similar to what you see on page 12.
Rex, if we replaced the sign on page 13, could we go higher with it? And would it be less costly to do that?
You would need to replace all the posts.
Okay.
I mean, all the posts are in at the same time. So while the horizontal post is getting the most weathered because the water is on top of it, and even though it's probably got a covering to it, the posts on the sides I would say, if we're going to replace the vertical bar, you're going to need to replace the horizontal bars as well.
Would that be less costly?
So I'm going to say it's going to be running almost the same.
Sorry.
Deb, I would say to do that, because you're going to have to take all these out, you're going to have to dig out all the concrete footings at the base of the bridge. And with the slope that's right there, I can probably tell you, and I'm guessing those are pretty deep, and whether that challenges any of the structural integrity of the whole. I mean, I'm kind of like chop the posts off at the bottom and you cover them up. I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it. It's kind of a, I need to get some people out there who know a little bit more about this stuff than I do. But that's my idea, is I don't think it would be cheaper to redo the overhead sign versus the street sign. I really don't.
As far as signage and visibility of it from a distance, either if you're coming from the south or coming from the north, having the sign on the side where it is in the top of page 13 would probably be a better idea, because that bridge sign is set back from the road.
You really don't see it until you've already turned onto the road.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then as far as lighting, how many activities do we have at night where a person, might want to see that sign so they know the location of going into the park? Might be another idea. And I'm also,
We actually have quite a few,
Yeah.
because we've got baseball and soccer there well into the evenings, April through, well, soccer actually goes through October.
so then lighting might be a
It would
considerable option that one might consider.
It would be nice to have it lighted, but again, I think that will ultimately be determined by what the final cost is.
I know cost is one thing, but you also have, of all the parks that we have, this is our signature park.
Yep.
And I think that if we're going to do a sign, it should be a reasonable sign. And I also like the idea of it being rustic rather than something more contemporary or modern. and not having like marquee lights, LEDs, that kind of stuff.
Are there any, out of the signs that we have on page 12, are there any that kind of stand out to you more than the other one?
I guess from my perspective, the Glacier National Park sign, I really would be not so much for a larger sign like the first two, just because I think the cost of them are going to be so high. I think something simple and rustic looking is fine, but something like the top two I think would be a little too much.
Okay.
I think too with the smaller ones, and getting back to the point before, you're able, the larger, the Ken Carroll one, they're all really cool looking.
Yeah, they're-
But that's one that you'd almost have to run parallel to the road, where on the smaller ones, I think it'd be easier to flip it where, yeah, you're seeing it from north and south from a little bit more of a distance away. If that really matters, I don't know. But
It depends on the amount of wording you put on it, too.
Yeah.
You know, this is a pretty long word, but Ashwaubenon Park might be a shorter word, and therefore wouldn't need to be as long as this one.
So out of the two bottom ones, just in terms of general style, obviously the Stowe Mountain Lodge one is more hanging versus the Glacier National Park is more set, onto that. Is everyone, is there one direction or another in terms of me starting the process to?
I would think that the national park one would probably be easier on maintenance, just because you've got that hanging post and that eventually is going to rot.
Okay,
That's just my thought.
all right.
I like the Stowe one if you put the rock on the other side.
Oh, on both sides you're talking about, Deb?
The bottom left one, if you had the rock on the, the main rock on the other side of the sign.
Reversed.
Yeah, have it reversed.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
For me, I think the Glacier National Park sign, for some reason, fits more for a park setting for me. The Stowe one's nice looking, but it seems to me I see those a lot in all kinds of developments, where the Glacier National Park one just kind of, maybe because it says National Park on there, but to me, it just,
Well, it also has more wood. I'm sure that whole wood panel right there, it probably would fit the verbiage if we're going to go Ashwaubenon Memorial River Park, which is the official park's name. It would fit better on there than probably the other one. Give you more opportunity to spell it out.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you could put the rock that's on the Stowe Mountain Lodge. You could do something like that on the Glacier, the base and that vertical piece there, but because that looks like it's maybe granite or something like that. Kind of hard to tell.
But I think in concept, I think most people agree with the overall idea of the Glacier National Park sign as compared to the other three.
Yeah.
And as far as stone design, you've got a lot of different options you could come up with as far as a stone pillar,
Yep.
that'd be setting to the side of the sign.
So my next step on this then, if it sounds like that's the direction you want me to go up for the Glacier, is to just find out pricing on what it would cost to design something of this, like this sign. Because if I'm going to, that would be the first step, next step, I guess, is design. And then I would need to bring that back to the village board at some point, and just see what if funding is available in 19, or whether this is a 2020 project. Maybe this is the 1919 is the year that we vet it out and get a design, and then we ask for funding in 2020 to get it built. That might be the best route to go.
You have to decide the size of your lettering also,
Correct. Yep,
because that'll determine the size of the
yep,
wood part there.
yeah. And that's what I guess a sign architect who does this type of stuff would
Yeah.
help us out with,
Yeah, I hope so.
based on the distance from the roadway and how far we want people to be able to see it as they're driving, that type of thing.
You want it written on both sides. Huh?
What's that?
You want it written on both sides.
I want it written on both sides, yes, that would be good.
When I would look back on it again, I would agree with Justin. I think that the stone would probably take away from the words.
Say that again?
Well, if you had stone on the back, it would take away from the wording. You know what I mean? If you had all that stone in there, it would take away from the sign.
Yeah, it just makes it look busier.
Yeah.
If you take that sign down, the one going over the bridge, I would like it.
I do like
Because
it.
I repaired some of it in 1976.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I worked for the park in 76 and 77. So. Oh, just kidding. You
All right.
you can keep the sign.
Well, if we can saw off a piece or something like that.
It's a nice sign.
So what you're saying is kind of proceed forward with some pricing for design of a sign looking similar to Glacier, the Glacier sign.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do we want to keep it to one, or do we want to have another option in like the Ken Carl Ranch? Just as an option.
Well, I think the sign developers, designers, maybe have some other
Right.
ideas too that they could use that.
Yeah, I can bring it back. The more designs you come up with, the higher the design cost is
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be. That's which is fine. Hey, if we've got the dollars to do it, great. But I just didn't know if I can just move forward with one, or I can move forward with multiple. It's up, you tell
Well,
me.
If a sign designer, I'm sure like anybody else out there, they've got a number of pictures of different signs.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Anything else? No, good?
We don't need a motion on that, do we?
No, no.
No, well, actually, maybe just, they've already kind of said proceed with that particular, I don't know if it needs to be a motion, Chris, or
I wouldn't know the,
general direction.
If you have the go-ahead to do what you want to do, you're just looking for direction from them, I would think not, but.
Okay.
okay. Let's see, 8C, discussion on 2018 Ashwaubenon Park Program and Summer Day Camp Report.
David Rohrig, who is our recreation supervisor, who was in charge of both of these programs. I don't know if we've ever done a official end-of-the-season day camp and park program report, but I thought it was appropriate to do this here. Just to kind of let you guys know a little bit about the program, what some of the highs were, and what went well, and if anything didn't, then that'll be brought out too. So, David, I'll give the mic to you, and you can talk about both of the programs.
All right, thanks, Rex. I guess I want to start off talking about the park program. I was very happy with the numbers that we had this year at park program. We keep track based on total visits throughout the summer. Park program is actually a 9.5-week program for us, so it starts basically once school's finished up and then goes all the way through mid-August. Usually wraps up right after the Ashwaubenon Blast that same week. But as far as numbers go, we had 5,914 total visits between the 7 different parks this summer. That was up over 1,000 visits from last year, actually 1,054, which was almost a 22% increase. Going into the season, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous. We had a lot of staff turnover from last summer. So we hired actually quite a few new parkies, and obviously you can interview kids and do the best research you can, but you'd never know how they're actually gonna do until they get into the park setting. And then it's pretty easy to tell how they're doing because you see numbers grow at certain parks because the neighborhood kids get attached to those kids that are working, and, you know, they want to spend all summer there with them. So obviously, I thought the new hires did really well this year, and I think that's apparent with our increase in numbers. So hopefully, we can get a lot of those same staff members back next summer. It's always a little bit easier when you're not completely training a whole new staff. So, but yeah, very excited about the numbers. Like I said, we do have 7 total parks that have the park program. Canterbury, Fort Howard, Pioneer, Sand Acres, Smith, Valley View, and Waterford are those parks. 3 of the busier parks, we actually have 2 staff members that work there. That's going to be Fort Howard, Sand Acres, and Smith. I guess as far as what the staff does with the kids while they're there, it kind of varies depending on parks. We have certain parks that kids that are more into playing sports or more active have a tendency to kind of gravitate towards those parks. I would say like Waterford Park has a lot of kids that come to the park program and they're chasing around, playing tag, playing different, you know, sports games and stuff like that. But then you go to Canterbury, and historically it has been more kids that like to do arts and crafts or read books. It's not to say that they don't do other stuff, but that tends to be more of the focus at, you know, certain parks. So we try to keep a wide variety of what we do. We have weekly themes. Bree Beauchamp, who was our program assistant this last summer, it was her second summer doing it. She would come up with weekly themes and try to come up with different arts and crafts projects that we could offer to, you know, the kids to do at the different parks. And then we have things like, we have different board games, beanbag toss. Like I said, we do a lot of sports. We're always trying to add, you know, a couple new things to different parks, because you'll kind of see kids travel back and forth to different parks too if there's, you know, a different game that they want to play or a different activity that they're interested in. All the parkies are trained and certified in first aid and CPR. Luckily, this last summer we didn't need too much of that besides some Band-Aids and some ice packs, so that's always a successful summer in my eyes. And then we do in-service training, because obviously we're dealing with kids from all different walks of life, you know. So you're going to encounter different situations, you know, family situations, you know, situations between kids, discipline issues. When you're dealing with that many kids throughout the summer, obviously stuff is going to come up, and we've got, you know, different policies and procedures on how to handle all those different issues that pop up. I guess that's the main talking points I have for the park program. Does anybody have any questions about the park program?
For the day camp, do the parents have to?
Not there yet.
What?
Day camp is coming next.
Okay. I'll hold my question.
How do we track just head count?
Yes, actually, each staff turns in a weekly report. They have paperwork that's turned in, that's emergency contact information, that they always keep on hand, but then they keep a weekly total that they submit to Bree and myself, so we can keep track of the total visits throughout the summer. And we've used it in the past. Honestly, if we've noticed a park is struggling, that it might be a staff issue, and we've used that to kind of swap people into different positions if need be. But like I said, this last year, I thought the staff did a really good job, and we didn't have to do any maneuvering of staff, so.
You want to briefly cover real quick, like what special events and what trips the park program went on?
Yep, we do offer different field trips for the park program. We actually took 4 different field trips. We went to Tundra Lodge, Ashwaubenon, Extreme Air, and then Funset Boulevard down in Appleton. And 271 children participated in those trips. So we basically just do those trips to, I guess, really break even. But it's kind of a nice way for, yeah, bus cost. And then, you know, if there's any tokens or anything or tickets for rides, you know, we kind of incorporate that into the fee. But it's a nice way to get away from the park for a day and do something that, you know, maybe their parents don't have the time to take them to a place like that. So they can do it with their friends, and, you know, obviously, like I said, they get attached to the staff members as well. So, and then we do have 3 different special park programs. These all take place at Pioneer Park. The first one we did this summer was actually modeled after The Amazing Race. And since my time here, which is almost 5 years now, it was by far the highest attended special event that we've had for the park program. We had 94 kids show up just to that event. And honestly, we're normally in the 40 range. So,
Because we usually don't do bus transportation to the special events. So the outlying parks, the kids have to find their own way to get to that special event. So that's pretty good for that.
yep, I had to make an extra cookie run for the snack that day. And then we also had a game show one where we did different game shows, and the kids competed against the parkies. And then Water Olympics, which is kind of a traditional one that we do every year. And we tried pushing it back to August this year in hopes of warmer weather, and I think the first day we tried to have it ended up being like in the 60s and rainy. So then we had to push it back another week. But overall, we had well over 200 kids come to the 3 different special events.
When you have the special events, is the park closed?
We send most of the parky staff over to Pioneer.
Okay.
We usually leave 2 parks open. We try to kind of leave the busier parks open that day. But we rotate staff just so that all the parkies have a chance to participate in the special events. So that way they kind of all get to experience it. So.
Thank you.
What happens is there's a sign on those days that's put up on the parky sheds. It just says, you know, staff is attending special event, no park program for the day. So if kids do show up, that it shows on the doors that there won't be anyone there until the next day.
Do we have many non-residents attending our parks,
Not many.
daily or not?
Yeah,
No.
not for the park program. It's mostly geared towards our resident kids. Obviously, there's certain situations that come up. You know, Sand Acres is kind of a weird situation just because of the neighborhood. It's a lot of Ashwaubenon, but then there's, you know, Lawrence and everything in there, and it gets to be kind of a mess. So, but for the most part, it is, you know, Ashwaubenon residents. We don't turn kids away. You know,
Yeah.
if they're coming with their buddy or whatever, they can have fun too. So,
You'd probably say what, percentage-wise, Ashwaubenon?
oh, 95%. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a very high number.
I would figure. Just
Yeah.
not a lot of parents are gonna car their kids over to
Yeah.
somebody else's park.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while you'll get the kids on bikes that
Yeah.
a little bit older kids, but.
Okay.
Any other questions on the park program? All right, talk a little bit about day camp. Oh, I'm sorry, yep, one more, go ahead.
Actually, there was something new this summer that was incorporated into one of our parks over at Fort Howard, actually, is the summer food service program. If you look at page 16, I've got some kind of background information. But basically what we did was we joined up with the Ashwaubenon School District, and from June 13th through August 15th, they actually prepared meals at the school kitchen, and they brought them over. They vanned them over. So during park program hours, we were able to give out free meals to the kids that were attending Fort Howard Park. They did that at Fort Howard Park, and then they did it at the middle school as well. The middle school obviously was a lot busier due to summer school taking place there. So obviously they had a lot more traffic. It was our first year. We didn't know, I guess, what to expect numbers-wise or how it would go over. And I mean, I had some concern going into it too. How much time, it was going to take up for the staff that they would be playing with kids and interacting with kids. But the staff that worked there actually said how smooth the program went and that it didn't really take away from the program, and that it was good to see the kids getting the meals that needed the meals there. And the program is based on, I guess, what is it, this percentage of kids in the area that qualify for the free and reduced lunch in the Ashwaubenon School District.
Who pays for the meals?
We do ultimately through our federal taxes. It's a federal program through the USDA.
Okay.
The school district applied for the grant and to be entered into the program. And so then the school district gets reimbursed by the feds for the lunches that are served. So what does that mean in terms of Fort Howard? David, I think we had talked about it, we figured it out on a daily average about, I think it was over about 20
to 25 meals per day. It was 941 total meals throughout the summer that were served at Fort Howard.
So based on the days that we served, how many days we served and the total lunches, it worked out to be between, I think it was 21 or 22 lunches per day on average. So, and those are, now anyone can come from any other area, but typically, again, they're more the local neighborhood. So we feel if they're coming to the park for lunch, that's kind of something that we're thinking is, that's how we want it to happen. Because they're getting a nutritious lunch. They're not just raiding the cupboard if mom or dad aren't there to get chips and whatever else there may be. They're getting nutritious, they need to be eating it all, but but they are being offered, a complete nutritious type of lunch, per USDA standards. And we thought it went well for the first year. For instance, City of Green Bay has, I want to say, 37 staffed parks, and I want to say 34 of those offer this program. So this is our first one. I believe it's the only park that technically qualifies in terms of us having a park program in it where we could do something like this. Thought it worked out well for the first year.
It was a good park for us to have it as well because we have 2 staff that are working there, so they can kind of take turns rotating in and helping with that program.
And the school district was great to work with on it. I mean, they basically brought in the lunches, they helped us serve them.
They did all the accounting stuff.
All the accounting stuff, the only thing that's our staff had to do is help hand out the bags and probably clean up some blowing lunch bags and trash after the fact. So,
Didn't you say it was also Parkview and Parkview?
Yes, there was,
Howard
it was
and
also,
Parkview?
meals were also served at Parkview.
But you don't have Parkviews there.
no.
We don't, no.
Yeah.
They actually served
That's
those out
strictly school
of the
district.
cafeteria.
Okay.
Like I said, they had a really large number there, especially during the summer school weeks. They actually served just over 6,400 meals during that time there. So
If I remember right, too, they don't turn anybody away, correct?
No.
Good.
all right, next up.
Would you, I'm sorry,
oh.
would you consider adding another school next year then?
It's really, it's based on income levels in different areas. And so if the school district says that a particular area is going to be able to qualify, then, let's say Valley View school. I mean, if they wanted to serve out of Valley View, and then they could do that as well. I don't believe any of our other parks, other than maybe Valley View, would qualify. in terms of the median income level of the kids that attend there.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to, I guess, touch on day camp. It's been it was our 4th summer, actually, having a Ashwaubenon summer day camp. It's been a hugely successful program for us. And if you look at page 17, I guess I have a financial breakdown. We did raise, our fees this last year, basically $11 across the board, which helped us bring in some additional revenue. But at the same time, it had also allowed us to do a little bit nicer field trips, because that's what's going to keep the kids coming back. So we try to offer a wide variety of different things that we can provide the kids, and then we also try to do bonus field trips as well, special things that the kids don't really know about until that week, just to kind of keep it exciting for them. But if you look through our financial statement right here, you can kind of see the success that we've had running this program. All 4 years we have had positive revenue by quite a bit, which helps, with some of our different special events that we offer. Some of my salary.
Well, and that's
offset by
just
that,
it. It helps. I mean, the actual program and staffing costs are fully covered. And then there's also money that's out there above what the program costs are that can help offset David's salary, which is because you spend a fair amount of time on it in the summer,
yeah.
because of the amount of kids and all the registration that needs to come through and is, pulled out weekly and financial reports. So, when we say there's, a net total, basically that goes to offset the full-time cost of doing the program. So, but all in all, and it's been, David has done a great job, and Carrie Kornick is our day camp supervisor, and she's, we're fortunate to have her in terms of running the program. She ran the YWCA program for a number of years. Want to just talk a little bit about numbers and some of the things that we did at
Yes.
participants and trips that you went on? And
Yep, we actually
what we offer?
we averaged over 50 campers per week. It's a 10-week program. So over, I guess 500 registrations during the summer. When you sign up, you can sign up for all 10 weeks, or you can sign up for as little as 1 week. So we actually open it up to residents first. They have a 2-hour window to sign up, and we have that same window for people that are signing up for 9 or 10 weeks of camp. So they have priority for registration. And the last 2 years, by the time that 2-hour window was up, we were completely sold out with a wait list. It can get kind of crazy that morning with with registrations. Yep. And families trying to get in, and I mean the amount of, I guess the amount that they depend on, having us,
It's
look over our
convenient,
program. Yeah.
Yep, it's convenient for them, it's in their backyard. The price is certainly competitive,
It's
more
fun.
than competitive with some of the other day camp programs that are in the greater Green Bay area.
A little bit about the camp. Every week we have a special field trip. Some of the field trips that we took, Extreme Air, Ashwaubenon Lake, we went to the new zoo, Funset Boulevard, and Chuck E. Cheese the same week actually as Funset Boulevard. Probably our most popular field trip, the kids do foot golf down in Manitowoc, and then they go to the beach at Two Rivers there for the afternoon. We went to Pollock Aquatic Center. We went to a Timber Rattlers game. We went to a Bullfrogs game. We went to the Menominee Park Zoo. We went to the Manitowoc Aquatic Center. Probably the other most popular is Blue Harbor Resort. We took a few trips to Dairy Queen. We actually...
It's a walking trip.
That's a walking trip. We go to different parks. We actually when Titletown had all the different activities for the kids, we were able to get set up with a private camp there, which is actually probably the kids' coolest experience.
I don't know how you did that, but that worked out really.
Yeah, they didn't charge us for anything. They invited us to Titletown, and at the time that our camp was about to start, there was hundreds, maybe up to 1,000 kids on that field there. They went over the PA, said everybody's got to leave the field. The Ashwaubenon Day Camp is starting their private camp, and everybody's looking around like, what's a Ashwaubenon Day Camp? So the kids love that. And then we do go swimming at the high school pool. We do that twice a week. We try to take a trip to the library for the kids that are interested in reading. So they're always doing something. If you're kind of driving over by that Valley View area, you're going to see the kids a lot of times walking somewhere. So they try to stay active and keep things interesting. I guess a couple extra, we did do bowling, and that was a bonus trip. We went to the movie theater as well. So with how many registrations we've had, we've been able to kind of add some fun trips in there too.
Mark, now's the time.
Now's the time.
Yes.
Where it lists your challenges, it lists dealing with behavioral issues throughout the summer for these kids. Do the parents have to sign a contract or something when they enroll their kid in this day camp that you can throw them in jail or something if they get too unruly?
Yep. Yeah, we talked about we didn't want to just list all of the accomplishments and not mention anything about the different challenges with a program of this size. Obviously, there's going to be challenges when you're dealing with 50-plus kids. Behavior issues can always be a problem. We do have a pretty large parent handbook that we pass out during registration time that the parents have to read through. They know the consequences. They know our different steps that we take with behavior issues, so it's all spelled out and lined up before the summer even begins, what steps we take if need be.
What age group, what age range do these?
7 to 12. And I would say it seems like almost every other year it's been a good year for kids' behavior. Next year, hasn't been as good. This last year was actually a very good year behavior-wise, so unfortunately we might be due next year for. I think we only had, I guess we've got like a yellow slip form that kids fill out if they do something. We got a parent, folder for every kid. So if they get, written up with a yellow slip, which is not as serious of an infraction, they have to kind of write what they did and what they could do better for next time. They have to sign it. They have to have the parents sign it. If you get 3 of those, then it adds up, to a red slip. If you get a couple red slips, you get a suspension.
And there are suspensions during the year, and there are children that are asked to leave the program or have been asked to leave the program. Like we just will not, we cannot continue with this particular child due to the seriousness of potentially some of the infractions. And the parents know that. We go through, like David said, the whole process of working with them and dealing with them and trying to rectify the behavior so we don't have to ask them to leave the program, but
So it's kind of
occasionally you do.
Kind of like the yellow card and red card in soccer, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep. And the biggest thing is just communication with the parents. So it's not all of a sudden one day your child's kicked out of camp. It's, a series of events that leads up to it. Or if it is something serious, then obviously we'd have to skip some of those steps.
Are most of the infractions done on field trips, or are they, when
The field trips are usually a little bit better behaved because
they get left behind?
it's something different that they're doing. And you'll kind of see kind of a progression through the summer is what I've noticed is the first few weeks, and this goes with kids, they'll be well behaved, but then as they get more comfortable or, they've been in camp, for 6, 7, 8 weeks now, they start to act up a little bit more.
Typically, it's anger management issues. How you handle adverse situations or interactions with some of the other kids. That's typically where the yellow and red cards will come in, is how kids react and what they say and what they do when stressful situations arrive, whether it be playing a game or on the playground where someone bumps someone else, that type of thing.
Do you have trouble with the older kids interacting with the younger kids, beating up?
No,
For the most part, that's been pretty good.
no.
So, and a lot of times it's kids that have been in a program, you know, now some of the kids have been in the program all 4 years, or the older brother or sister's been in the program, so they kind of know the routine, you know, as far as that goes. And then that's where I guess we're very fortunate with the staff that we have. Like I said, Carrie has been with us since the beginning. She was in charge of the YW camp in Green Bay, so she had a lot of day camp experience. She's also a second grade teacher at Notre Dame. So she's very good at interacting with parents and handling discipline issues. And then we also have a lead counselor, who this last summer was Hannah Gore. She used to be a parkie for us, and then she wanted to transition into the day camp. So she's been around Parks and Rec for quite a few years, but she's also a teacher. She's a teacher at Our Lady of Lourdes in De Pere. So she's got that same teacher background. And she's seen quite a few different situations just from her everyday job, so.
It sounds like a really good program.
It's turned out really well.
They must work in shifts if that's going from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, and like I said, our day camp coordinator, Carrie, she's usually there early, like the 7 to 3 shift, and then Hannah would come in later, work like 10 to 6, so it kind of overlaps, but we're always covered to have kind of a go-to counselor.
It's about a 10-to-1 ratio
Okay.
during the day for staffing.
And when we set that up, we went based off of, I guess, state regulations of how you'd want it set up ratio-wise, and then we kind of even gave ourselves a little buffer just to be on the safe side when you're dealing with that many kids. But it's good to have 2 teachers like that. They've got a lot of responsibility, you know, like I said, dealing behavior issues, but then they're also a lot of times handing out different medications and stuff like that, so you don't want, you know, just any staff person handling those issues.
So from what you're saying, we're pretty much at capacity right now for day camp?
Yes. Actually, last year we bumped it up, actually, not this last summer, but the summer before, we bumped it up from 45 kids to 55 kids because the demand was so great. We don't want to go any more than that just because of the space that we have at Valley View, and then also bus size. When you're starting to take field trips, you're kind of limited by, you know, how many people you can put on a bus too when you got 55 kids plus, you know, 7 or 8 staff members.
Other than the actual staffing costs, the busing costs are probably the next largest expense. So to add more kids, you'd almost have to then double your busing cost. And the payback wouldn't be as great of an opportunity. Any other questions on the day camps or park program? All right,
No, good.
thanks, David.
All right, 8D, discussion on the 2019 Park, Rec, and Forestry budget.
Okay, what you have before you is a somewhat abbreviated version of, and it's still very fluid, what we have submitted to administration. We've already had an initial meeting with administration on some of the different divisions. That will continue later on this week. So I can't say in terms of what's going through and what's not going through and what projects are approved or what not, you know, what's not approved, but you've got an idea here anyway of of what has at least been submitted for consideration. And we've gone through this a little bit in the past. This is obviously a little bit more detailed than what you've had in the past. I guess I will just open it up to the board and see if any of you have any questions, because again, a lot of this has been discussed. It's just, here's the format that it's been submitted in.
Putting all the capital items to the side, the rest of the budget, when I look this over, would it be safe to say that probably the largest increase in it is personnel and benefits?
It is every year. We have requested an additional full-time staff person this year, which certainly bumps that number up. That person, we are proposing 50% usage of that person to maintain the community center. And then the other 50% or 25-25 would be to assist in the forestry and park maintenance areas. Prior to 2006, we actually had 3 full-time park maintenance people. That third park maintenance person was responsible at that time for the maintenance of the old community center. Well, the new community center is 3 times the size, probably more than 3 times the maintenance, just with the amenities that are in there. And we struggle. We're trying to, I mean, we're getting by, but it takes all of our staff time as well. I mean, we're being pulled out of our offices. We're wiping down tables. We're scrubbing the stove and the dishwashers, and you know, it's a big kitchen. We've got a lot of counters. I mean, we've all done the floor machines, and you know, the maintenance company that we've hired, it's no different than with any of the other maintenance companies. I mean, they have a hard time giving us more staff time to do that. So we just felt it would be a better situation all around to discuss what some of the options were about getting a full-time person, which could also help alleviate some of the overage or the extra work that we're trying to do within the park and the forestry operations as well.
I believe that was one of the concerns that we had originally when we started the whole concept of the
Yep.
new community center.
Yeah, we kind of knew this was coming. You know, we just didn't know in what form or format or how much time should be devoted to it. Whether we could do it on our own, and we have been, but I mean, you can tell when you walk in there, there's things that look good and there's other things that you're kind of like, we need to spend a little more time on that, and we don't have that time or ability to spend on it, so.
And Rex, the other increase in cost I noticed was for you as director, and then the coordinator and supervisor below you.
I believe administration took a look at different full-time positions and salary rates across the board. It's not something that we requested. It's something that administration did for all department heads in all the different divisions, not just Park and Rec. And based on some of their averages of what they felt was appropriate around Northeast Wisconsin, those numbers are shown in the salary lines.
Rex, I see that there's quite a big, percentage-wise anyway, jump in pickleball program supplies. Are you planning on adding more courts? I know it's becoming.
If I would have put in 12 courts, it still wouldn't have been
Right,
enough.
that's why I'm asking. Because right now, it's just that 4 hours, right?
It is gangbusters out there right now. I mean, people are using the courts every single day, which is great. We're doing a lot more classes, a lot more programming, and with the assistance of the Green Bay Pickleball Association. They kind of take the lead on a lot of this stuff with us. David works with them as one of our partners. And so, are we putting more courts in? I don't have there's no plan to do so at this time. Let's just leave it at that way.
Okay.
I mean, the 6 are very busy. I mean, it would, if, like I said, if we put in another 6, I have no doubt in my mind that they would continue to even, all 12 would then be as busy. But, then you also have to balance, who are we putting them in for? Are we putting them in for the greater Green Bay area? Are we putting them in for the Ashwaubenon residents? That type of a thing. So I think right now, we're still in a mode, in my opinion, of we're at 6, and that's certainly serving the needs of our people.
Are those used inside of a tennis court, basically, or is that a completely separate?
They can be. Some municipalities, if a tennis court, per se, so if they don't feel like it's being used very much, you can paint another set of lines within a tennis court. And you can actually make 2 pickleball courts out of a tennis court. All those lines start to get confusing. And then if you make pickleball courts out of that tennis court, then you have to have portable pickleball standards, and what some municipalities have done, like with the Green Bay Pickleball Association, they've put in a crate or a box that have those standards inside of them, where a particular group has a key to be able to get in and take those extra standards and nets out and set them up as they see fit. But again, you can agree with me or not agree with me, but to me, that's more of a greater Green Bay type of a thing. And I think what we have right now is serving the needs of our residents.
But we only have it in one location.
Just one location, over at Fort Howard.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions or things on the budget that attracted their attention that they wanted to discuss?
Cleaning services. You budgeted 4,000, a heavy drop from 15. How come such a big?
Cleaning services, that would be the full-time person we requested. So 11,000 out of that 15 would go towards the full-time person.
Instead of farming that out?
Yeah, instead of farming that out. And then we would keep we'd keep 4,000 for specialty cleaning, because there's specialty floor buffing that needs to be done. Specialty carpet cleaning, there's certain things that need to be done that even if we did get a full-time person, I think would need to be done by someone who specializes in that.
Yeah.
So, but that's why 11,000 has been jumped down, is to help try and fund in the discussion period. I'm not saying it's going to happen, it may not happen, but that we're trying to find dollars, what can we move from one area to help fund and offset the cost of that new person, if that's the direction we go.
Right.
It's proposed that new person would also help out with some special cleaning projects here at Village Hall. Public Works is also lowering some of their allotted cleaning dollars, potentially, so that if that position was funded, then they would come over here to do, because this is just a tile floor out here. I don't want to say just a tile floor, but it can easily be done by any of our staff by using the machine, our floor cleaning machine. So, with that in mind, that would save some of the Public Works dollars by having our person do it. And so they've shifted some of their dollars to potentially help fund this position as well. And again, nothing is decided yet, nothing is set, just in discussion phase of whether this is feasible to go down this avenue.
Okay.
Well, putting the capital outlay items to the side, I don't see the rest of the proposal as being unreasonable.
I had a question on the forestry part. it looks like we discussed this in the past, I think, but the pruning cycle, the way it's been run the last 7 years, it calculates to doing the whole village every 18.9 years. What's the goal on that?
The goal is to do it every 6 or 7, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
We are not proposing to do any more trees in terms of contracted tree pruning this year, this coming year, than we've done in the previous years. What you're seeing dollar-wise, that's how much the cost has gone up because of how good the economy is right now. What we could get for 17 or 18,000, the bids came in at like 35 this year, and I think 30 or 38, I think that's kind of what Tim, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
35, and
Yeah, and so this is, it has literally doubled in the last year because the tree trimming companies, that's how much business they have because of how the economy is booming right now. With that, in addition to the advent of EAB, the amount of trees that need to be cut down and dealt with there, they've got more work than they need. We've always been fortunate with our tree trimming operations. It's just that, okay, we award our contract, and we don't care when it's done. We don't care if it's done in January, or if it's done in November, or June, or July. It doesn't matter to us as long as that work needs to be done. So the tree trimming companies always liked to bid on us because they could always use it as a fill-in. Whenever they had a fill-in, well, let's go to Ashwaubenon and get a couple extra blocks done. You know, and okay, a month later, okay, we got 2 or 3 days until our next big job. Let's go get 3 more blocks done over in Ashwaubenon with our contract we have with them. So it was doesn't work that way anymore because there's no gaps anymore. They have so much work that needs to be done. So that's what the cost is, or it was for the last bid that we had for 2018. So we're kind of in a bind there. We're not asking to have any more work done than the average of what we've had done the last couple of years. It's just the price has increased that much more.
all right. Anything else? Any other questions? No? Good. That was information only, yep. All right, 8E, discussion on Park and Rec and Forestry October Department Report.
Some of our projects are winding down. The Pioneer Park Trail project has been completed. We've done the landscaping on that. Trail is in, railings have been installed. Fort Howard Park sidewalk was poured about 2 weeks ago. I think it's dried out enough, or will be dried out enough this week to do the landscaping on that. Canterbury Park sidewalk, that's going to go from the roadway to the picnic shelter at Canterbury. Picnic shelter's installed, sidewalk should be installed Thursday and Friday of this week. We're already starting to deactivate our drinking fountains, blow out all the water lines, all the parts. We're also blowing out, or working with the sprinkler company on blowing out all of our irrigation systems at Pioneer, Clipstein, Ashwaubenon, and the sports complex. Green Bay Cricket Association is paying to have the cricket pitch paved at the sports complex. It actually should be done this month. That's something that's actually going to be coming off the budget, because I think that was a budget item in our budget, but the Green Bay Cricket Association has actually agreed to pay for that to be done. So that's a good thing with that. No cost to us. Dance program is underway. We've got 80 enrollees on that. Flag football is winding down. This coming weekend is the last weekend of that. We probably have had, I think, about 150 kids involved in that. I do want to mention something that's kind of neat in aquatics. Melody has been working with Woodside Senior Living across the way, and every Monday we're doing a special class just for the Woodside residents. We've got about a dozen residents coming over from Woodside and participating in an exercise class for that. Woodside is paying for that to happen. Woodside has been a great partner. They have sponsored a number of bands for us, for our summer concerts, as well as, they just sponsored the Oktoberfest band for the dance that we just had a couple of nights ago. And so they've been great to work with, and they are renting the pool from us. And we've found a time that works, that the pool was open, and so their residents are coming over. Melody is a certified aquatic fitness instructor, and she is working with the residents that come over to do some aquatic fitness every Monday morning. So that's worked out real well. I wanted to mention that. That's kind of a little bit of a highlight, something new that we have not done before. And we're going to see what we can do in terms of growing some of those opportunities. I mean, does anyone have questions on any of the other things in here? Those are just some of the highlights, I guess.
Oh, good. All right, let's see, what do we have? Items for next agenda, anybody? Nothing, good. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.